So what's the next step in the U.S. strategy?
Well, right now, many are talking about Kandahar. Kandahar is the spiritual home of the Taliban. This is a place that was the capital for the Taliban regime from '96 to 2001. And I've been to Kandahar plenty of times to tell you that they do have a hold in Kandahar. Kandahar city is not really run by the Afghan government. There's no doubt that billions and billions of dollars have been poured into Afghanistan. Even the average Afghan will tell you that they haven't even seen $1 of it. Every time I go from province to province, that's what I hear. A peace durga, meaning that President Karzai wants to get elements of the Afghan government, elements of different ethnic groups, as well as elements from the Taliban and their commanders together to find a way forward in Afghanistan. More and more you are seeing the Afghans moving towards the Taliban because the Taliban have a very strong propaganda machine right now. Even though they're responsible for the majority of the civilian deaths, what they do is they have the power to go within the community.
You did a great job. When are you going back?
I'll actually be back in a couple of weeks.
All right, so just be careful when you go back. Can we just get that picture of Atia when she was embedded with the U.S. Marines? Can we get that up on the screen to show the contrast? There you are, right there. Atia, take a look. That's what you looked like at that point. And take a look how glamorous and beautiful you look right now. What a difference a few thousand miles makes, right?
I think it's CNN's makeup people that do a great job.
You did a great job for us. Thanks very much.
Thanks. The crowd has gotten a bit out of hand, ripping down fences, and a stand for journalists. Dozens of journalists fell to the ground as Dr. Abdullah was speaking. What you're seeing burning right now is 17 tons of poppy seed, a ton of opium, a quarter ton of heroin, and numerous amounts of hashish. The guys actually just found an IED, an improvised explosive device, down at the intersection there, and what they're about to do is detonate it. This clinic is made of mud. It's very basic. It doesn't have running water. It doesn't even have a bathroom. And it's made of 4 rooms. 3 rooms are connected. If you come through here, they're just setting up at the moment. The doctors don't know how long they're going to stay. They say that they want to stay because they want to help the people, but at the same time, they don't have the means. We're here at Camp Bastion. We were just on embed in Han Nashin, Helmand province, but this is where it all begins, on this airfield. This is where we started with the helicopter that we took, but we didn't know what went on behind it until today. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, and a lot of people. The hashish was hidden in a packet of instant noodles to hide the fact that it was coming in and processed in Pakistan with drugs. As you can see, when this comes in through a truck, not many people will think it's drugs until you open it up and you find this inside. And even then, it says Eid Mubarak, which is a holiday in the Muslim world. But when you open the plastic even more, the smell is very potent.
How can I not cry? God, I wish I would have died. Sob sabs warai. Before dawn on February 12th, 5 members of her family were killed as U.S. Special Forces stormed their home. A night that had started with celebrations to welcome the birth of a boy. Gululai was 18 and engaged to be married. Salaha had 10 children and Bibi Shirin had 4. Both women were pregnant. Zohir was a local prosecutor. He left behind 7 children. And Dawood was a police commander who worked side by side with the Americans. He had 8 children, including 16-year-old Siddiqullah, who was shot twice but survived. This is the family's account of that night.
At around 4 a.m. that cold February night, Commander Dawood went into the room where the party was taking place. It had just wound down, and he noticed that the light was turned off and not by them. That's when he noticed a red laser. When he came out to the courtyard right here, he noticed forces, U.S. forces on the rooftop. They shot him at this area. That's when his family members, the women, came running from different parts of the compound. They pulled him into that room with his brother, Muhammad Zohir. They went into that area, and the brother tried to come out, and he said in English to the U.S. forces, "Don't shoot at us, we're people of the government." The women were holding him back, saying, "You will be shot too," and they were right, because they started shooting in that direction, and that's where they were killed. 2 were actually still alive, but not able to be taken to a hospital because the forces would not let the family leave the home.
An elderly relative of the dead walks in and shows me a bullet he says was fired that night. Mohammad Sabir says he witnessed the deaths of his brothers, wife, sister, and niece. She was squatting here and I thought my sister fainted, but she was dead, he says. Shortly after the incident, NATO said a joint U.S.-Afghan force responding to intelligence about militant activity made a gruesome discovery: the bound and gagged bodies of 3 women. It also said that several insurgents engaged the joint force in a firefight, but a month later admitted no one at the compound had opened fire. And this week, NATO agreed international forces were responsible for the deaths of the women. But now there are more damaging accusations. Hours after the shootings, Mohammad Sabir says he shot this cell phone video.
I'm watching what's going on here.
You can hear American voices, the first investigators on the scene. Sabir claims soldiers on the raid dug bullets out of the bodies and then cleaned the wounds in an attempt to cover up. Afghan investigators won't comment on that claim, but tell CNN they have found evidence of a cover-up. NATO says it has discovered no evidence that any of our forces did anything to manipulate the evidence at the scene or the bodies. Its investigation continues. Thursday, a U.S. general offered his condolences to the family, calling the actions of that February night a mistake, and in Pashtun tradition offered sheep and money as compensation. I said no, Haji Sharafuddin says. Give me the money your men took from us that night, and give me the spies who gave you the wrong family. A family that has lost 5 members because of bad information, and the sort of bungled operation that the U.S. military here is trying hard to avoid. Atia Abawi, CNN, Khataba village in Paktia province, Afghanistan.
He's beautiful.
At a fire base in Helmand province, the 1st Battalion, 6th Marine Regiment prepares for combat. This regiment has fought in 2 world wars, Iraq and Afghanistan. Today, it has a new ally on the battlefield. Brigadier General Muhyiddin Hori of the Afghan Army wishes his soldiers luck and says thanks to the Marines who will be fighting alongside his men. You've made the best life for yourselves, General Muhyiddin says. You've built the best country. Your people depend on you. You are the pride of your country, and now you've come from many miles away to help us. Although his soldiers say they are ready to fight, they also say they don't have proper equipment. We don't have things like night vision, Commander Ghulam Rasul Takan says, and it leaves us unprepared. General Muhyiddin and Brigadier General Larry Nicholson are going from base to base explaining the importance of the Marja offensive and the importance of distinguishing civilians from the Taliban.
The population is looking for you. The enemy is not the population. Okay, but we do have an enemy who's going to try to hide in that population. That's why we've got to be very careful, we've got to be very disciplined, and we got to be very accurate.
Marja, a town of some 80,000, is considered the last Taliban stronghold in Helmand province.
Both the U.S. Marines and the Afghan soldiers have been preparing for the Battle of Marja for months now. But today, a visit from their commanding generals, proof that the battle is about to commence.
This isn't the first time many of these men have fought in Helmand. The Marines cleared the Taliban out of another area in 2008, but the enemy has changed.
I think it would be a little harder. They actually know how to fight this year. Last year they used a lot of guerrilla tactics. They'd shoot and then run. This year I think they'll try and stay around.
General Nicholson agrees.
I think some of our units will go into some pretty heavy contact, and I think some of our units may have less contact. We don't know. All I know is we've done everything we can to prepare, and on the eve of this big operation, I think we're ready.
Ready, but there are still some lighthearted moments.
This is our secret weapon. This is the mullah. You don't want to mess with this guy, I'll tell you that.
Ahead of these soldiers, many unknowns. Will the Taliban fight or melt away? How many roadside bombs await them? And can they help turn the tide of this 8-year war? Atia Abawi, CNN, Firebase Fiddler's Green, Helmand Province, Afghanistan.